Well, MLB is back, and to get us going for opening day, the best two guys in the business, David Samson and Jim Bowden, join us here at HQ. And let's jump right into it and have some fun here, guys. Take your pick, David. Let's start on the mound. Corbin Burnes or Shohei Ohtani, which one would you rather have here, starting the year out?
So if I have to win one game and you didn't say anything about hitting, because if I get to hit and the pitcher has to hit, then of course I'm taking Shohei Ohtani, but we have the universal DH. So it's going to be Corbin Burnes. When you watch him pitch, just pay attention to how many different pitches he commands during the course of a game and how difficult it is for hitters to figure out. You can't guess against Corbin Burnes. If I have to win one game, I'm going with Corbin.
And David, I'm with you completely on this one. I view Corbin Burnes, the NL Cy Young Award winner, as a #1 starter. I view Shohei Ohtani right now as a #2 type of starter. What makes Burnes so special? Well, opponents hit .069 against his curveball last year, .237 against his cutter, .186 against the change, .174 against the slider, and as David said, he's got command of all of those pitches. He is a dominant #1. That's the guy I want on the bump on opening day.
All right, rolling with Mr. Burnes there. By the way, the 2A star, the favorite to maybe run it back as the AL MVP. Wait and see on that. Two guys now in different homes here. Matt Olson in the ATL, Freddie Freeman out in LA with the Dodgers. Who will have the better season here, Jim?
I'm going to go with Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves, and let me tell you why. He's a better defensive player than Freddie Freeman is. He's got more range. He is tremendous at picking the ball out of the dirt. Matt Olson has more power. I think he hits 40 home runs this year. And keep in mind, he never had lineup protection in Oakland, outside of Matt Chapman, who, by the way, hit .210 last year. So he goes to an Atlanta team, a world champion team that's got Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies and Marcell Ozuna and Austin Riley, a loaded lineup. That protection is going to help him. And look, I do think Freddie Freeman will hit for a higher average than Olson will this year, and I think he'll have a huge year for the Dodgers. But I'm taking the 4.5-year younger Olson over Freeman.
The only concern I have about Matt Olson, and it's a teeny tiny one because he's actually my pick for MVP, shockingly enough, is that will he feel so much pressure stepping into the shoes of the legendary Freddie Freeman? I think Freddie has less pressure, way more protection. While I love the Braves lineup, the Dodgers are just deeper. Freddie's comfortable. He's home. Matt Olson's changing leagues. So there are a few factors that could come into play. But if you're going to pick Olson to be the MVP, don't you have to choose him to have a better year than Freeman? But I think that both of those gentlemen are going to be very, very well served in their new homes for years to come.
Age on the side of Olson there, of course, when it comes to Freeman. If you're in New York and a Mets fan, you probably don't want to hear this, but of course, you already know Jacob DeGrom will not be available for opening day and longer, still dealing with that right shoulder here. David, number of starts we might see from their ace there in NY in 2022.
So if I have to set an over-under, when you look at an ace, you expect that ace to have, let's say, 33 to 34 starts. I'm expecting DeGrom to miss more than half the season. I'm going to set the over-under of 15. There are players out there like Brandon McCarthy on Twitter who said, listen, I've had this. It's no big deal. Well, I've also had players who have had this, and it is a much bigger deal because you just don't know. And DeGrom has had so many problems in his shoulder, in his elbow, in his wrist, in his knees, in his toes, in his eyeballs that you just wait for the next problem to happen. He hasn't started more than 15 games. That's why that's the over-under for me.
All right, David, I'll take the under then. If you're going to set it at 15, I'll go to 12. And it's not just because of the stress reaction in the right scapula that worries me. It's the elbow. He has a slight tear in the ulnar collateral ligament. It may hold up, it may not. He's had problems with his labrum before as well. There's just been so many issues with Jacob DeGrom. So I'll take the under. I'll take 12. And by the way, if the 12 starts come in August and September and he's feeling good, he's not going to have a lot of innings on his shoulder, which means he might end up having a great postseason for the New York Mets. So I don't think the number of starts should be the big issue. I think it should be when he gets those 12 starts.
Of course, that impacts that rotation we thought was one of the best heading into the season. And this offseason, injuries, the problem there. True or false here, Jim? Joey Votto, look, he's coming at the top of his game, but does he deserve better than Cincinnati?
That would be a true for me, and I'll tell you why. If the expanded playoffs had taken place last year, the Cincinnati Reds would have been a postseason team. They were that close to the postseason. And then the offseason to go out and make that unfortunate trade of sending Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez, over to Seattle, to trade Sonny Gray to Minnesota, and to knock this team down when they were that close to the playoffs. I think they should have waited one more year to do that. So I think if the Reds are not in it come July, what I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see GM Nick Krall call Mark Shapiro, the president of the Blue Jays, and find a way to get Joey Votto traded to the Blue Jays. Toronto needs another left-handed hitter. He'd be a perfect DH there for the second half of the season for Toronto. That's what I'd like to see happen. Yes, he deserves better.
Jim, you're in the front office, so I think you'd agree that everyone would always like to wait an extra year and hold it together and hope that you can win next year. But sometimes the money just runs out and the losses are too big. And so I understand exactly why Castellini's doing what he's doing. And when Joey Votto signed this contract, he knew that he would represent too large a percentage of payroll over time toward the end of the deal, where it was going to be very difficult for the Reds to compete. Does he deserve better? No. He got to stay home. He got to collect a huge contract year after year, have stability. So I'm not sure what he could think that he deserves. So I'm going to say false.
All right, let's keep it here. True or false, the same thing here. How about the Padres? We know how difficult it was for them to kind of get into the postseason. Didn't happen this offseason, David. True or false, did they do enough to make the playoffs this year?
Well, it doesn't have to be a particular offseason where you're doing something. If you look at where the Padres are and what they've done, and then they go out on top of that and trade for Minaya, and they have not yet traded Paddock, though there's a rumor they're going to, though he's a 5-6 starter for me, maybe at most. Are they going to get Darvish and Snell to perform in the way that they thought when they got them? Is it time for Machado to get them into the playoffs? This could be, I can't remember now, year 3 or year 4 of his 10-year, $300 million deal. If the Padres don't make the expanded playoffs this year, there's going to be a real problem in that front office. So I would expect them to. And it's not that they did enough this offseason. I would say they did enough over the last 4 off seasons.
Yeah, I'll say true. They did enough this offseason because I think the hiring of Bob Melvin as manager will be an absolute difference maker for the San Diego Padres. A.J. Preller had hired 2 rookie managers prior to the Melvin hiring, and you could tell last year that they needed a more steady hand. They needed a proven winner. We've watched Bob Melvin win 3 Manager of the Year awards, including 1 in each league. And to have the 60-year-old come in here to run this club, that was a tremendous hire. In addition, getting their players healthy, that is the most important. You're going to have a healthy Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Mike Clevenger to start the year. As David alluded to, the trade for Sean Manaea just strengthened that rotation even more. And their farm system has C.J. Abrams ready with Fernando Tatis out for 3 months. Abrams, a young, exciting middle infielder. And I think sometimes standing pat is doing enough and doing the right thing. And that's basically what they did with their actual roster. But I think the hiring of Melvin alone says they've done enough. I do see this as a postseason team, although they'll have to get in as a wild card because the Dodgers will win this division by a lot.
We'll see what happens in that NL West between those squads there in that one. We got to make some dollars make sense here, David. $300 million question for you. More pressure, Manny Machado or Bryce Harper this season?
Well, if you know Manny Machado, he doesn't feel any pressure. Bryce Harper, there's a lot of pressure on him, not just because of where he plays and the fact that Philly has not done anything since he signed, but the reality is the Nationals won the World Series the year after he left, and Bryce Harper thinks about that, I promise you. He wants to bring a World Series. Joe Girardi's desperate. Dave Dombrowski, the moves they've made, they are going all in a way that goes against every way that I ran a team. I always think that pitching and defense is what you need. I don't believe that you can club a team to death for 162 games and get through October. The Phillies have a lineup where they're saying, yeah, we can do that, but I don't even know if they're ever going to catch the ball. But Bryce Harper coming off MVP season, he's got to do it again, but it only matters if they are playing in October.
I don't think either player feels any pressure. Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, I know both of them for a decade. They don't feel it. But if there was more pressure when one over the other, it clearly is in Philadelphia because of the market, because of the city, the expectations. They want to get them to the postseason. They went out and spent a lot of money bringing in 2 big bats and Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber to give Harper more protection there. So there's more pressure on him. In San Diego, you go to the gas lamp district after the game. It's chill. You go to the beach. You just don't feel the pressure in San Diego that you do in Philadelphia. So to answer your question, Harper's got more pressure than Manny.
We know how those Philly fans are and how that market is, as you mentioned there. Real quickly, we got a few more. Miss it or not, David, pitchers hitting.
Oh, God, no. I can't tell you how much I would worry when our pitchers would hit. Now, I agree there can be some exciting moments with Bartolo Colon. There's no doubt. But guess what? When your pitcher pulls up lame and has a hurt hammy or gets hit by pitch, I just remember watching through closed eyes when my pitchers hit, so I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to miss the pitchers hit at all for the same reason that David just said. Also, the fact that they can't hit, most of them. Sorry, Madison Bumgarner, Zach Greinke, and the few that can. But I will say this, I'll miss the strategy. I always loved NL baseball better. I like the manager having to decide in the 8th inning on a 1-1 game, do I pinch hit for my starting pitcher or not? I miss the double switches late in games. I'm not going to lie. I love the strategy. But I miss pitchers hitting? Nah, no thanks.
Double no there from you two there. Final question, the biggest one, of course, here. True or false? The hot dog is still the #1 food at the ballpark, David.
No, beer is the #1. It's the highest margin. It sells the most. You make the most money. It's beer. Baseball, beer.
Yeah, David's wrong here. It's clearly the hot dog. And look, I got to tell you, you can't go to a baseball game and not get one hot dog. Now, I will say this, Gould's mustard is the key. And there are some parks like Fenway Park that took Gould's out. Huge mistake, because it is the hot dog with the Gould's mustard that makes you think about baseball. Is it healthy for you? No. Do I love the taste? Absolutely not. But I cannot go to a baseball game without getting a hot dog. It is the food of Major League Baseball. No, it's not going to make you as much money as David used to make selling his beers at $20 a glass. But at the end of the day, remember this, Marchot, when she owned the Reds, $1 hot dogs, even though at the time it was costing her more than $1.
You know what? I mean, I get it. Back in the day, I could pound probably 2 hot dogs, but now since I'm vegan, we got to get some vegan Beyond hot dogs out there, fellas. It's just not a thing at the ballpark.
They have vegan hot dogs.
Oh, they do? Oh, well, you know what? Well, I can pound 2 or 3 of those.
Stadium.
All right, well, that's a thing I got to check out. It's opening day, so I got all season.
How about the $151 burger in Atlanta? That's what I want to try.
It's worth it. Maybe a heart attack,
Does it come with a defibrillator, David?
David Samson. Jim Bowden. Appreciate it. We got a long season, fellas, to break it all down. Hot dogs, burgers, $151 burger in the ATL. Oh, boy. Nothing personal with David Samson. You can catch that, of course, the latest pod talking about winning time. LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, the Lakers didn't make the playoffs. The AL Central and NL Central previews. Just download or give them a follow. You can catch them on YouTube and also streaming there every day.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.